Go again. There's distortion on your voice there. Go again.
Okay. Welcome to the OverclockedZA podcast, South Africa's most accessible consumer technology podcast. We bring the energy. I am your host, Lindsey Schutters, sharpshooters on social media, that opinion guy on the internet, and I'm joined as always by the editor of South Africa's largest consumer technology publication on shelf and techradar.com South Africa. Gavin, how are you doing?
Good. I'm going to repeat that because I think we had another audio dropout. So I'm now the content collator manager type thing for TechRadar South Africa. TechRadar, huge international website. And we are putting together the South African version of that. And we have a launch later this month where we'll be giving away cool free stuff. But I'll tell you about that next week.
Free stuff. I like free stuff.
Yeah.
Can I win some?
Yes, you can. We got phones, we got PC accessories, we got some bits and pieces of gaming stuff. I'll let you know how you can win the stuff next week. Okay, but in the meantime, you can just go to techradar.com and it'll automatically send you to the South African page.
Awesome. Gavin, you have front-loaded everything Windows. So Windows 10, 2004 or 2004, sorry,
yes.
Update. And it's been blocked on a lot of machines. I know I haven't received it yet.
Yeah.
Also, side note, my ongoing battle with my wife's IT department at work.
Yes.
She can finally print wirelessly now, or at least print to my brother's machine. We'll talk about printers later. But he then told her that maybe your husband set it up wrong. So some context.
Okay. Dangerous. Yeah, okay.
Remember when we spoke about VPNs and I said my wife's work uses Net Extender and how crap Net Extender is because it pretty much like your speed, no matter what upload speed you have. It just disrespects whatever speed you are paying for. And this guy was like, we were in like a half an hour conversation where he was basically telling me that I don't know how to set up my home network. And I had to categorically take him through different parts of my house, using different devices to show him that speed is quite...
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah. But unfortunately, IT support people have got a reputation for being exactly like that. My tactic is to be completely ignorant when dealing with them. It's the same tactic you use when you go into the computer shop. You must go in there and go, I don't know what printer I want, even though you know very well what you want. Then let them do the sales spiel so you can give them, so that they're not adversarial in dealing with you. But I know that's kind of difficult. Okay, so this person obviously eventually just got on your wrong side, right?
But anyway, he sorted out the little issue because I'm sure they had to install something and I don't have admin rights on her machine, obviously. So, and she can print wirelessly now. I was just saying, like Windows is not the best. I thought Windows 10 would have all of the drivers and everything like baked in so everything becomes plug and play. That was the promise at the beginning and it hasn't quite planned out. And now with this, do you want to take us through the feature list of the new update? What stands out most for you?
Yeah. Okay, so it's not all equally thrilling. Let me just praise you a little bit. So most of us don't use Windows virtual desktops. Virtual desktops are, if you've got multiple monitors, then you can actually run the email in one and run your news in the other and run your main business apps in the third one, and then you split them out across your multiple monitors as virtual desktops. You didn't used to be able to name them properly before, like left and right and middle or gaming screen. Now you can actually rename those. It's not a big deal unless you're a multi-monitor kind of person. The Notepad, I don't know, I use Notepad quite a lot. With Notepad, there's now a little asterisk that comes up in the top bar of the program that tells you when your document's not saved, so that at least you're aware of that. Small things like that. Things that do matter to Lindsey and I, the Microsoft Edge browser is much more memory efficient. So we've gone on and on about the Edge browser, but you've got the correct Microsoft Edge browser when you see a blue swirl, a light blue and dark blue swirl as the icon. That is the Microsoft Edge browser you should be using, and that is now optimized under the new Windows update for much less RAM, apparently 30% less RAM. In fact, browsers, Windows, use up the most RAM of anything on your PC. So that's quite a big deal. If they reduce the RAM usage of the browser, is a big deal. they're still working on their phone app. This is an app that allows your phone to speak directly to your PC in a seamless way. They're actually catching up with Apple in this regard. You can now take phone calls on your PC, send SMSs and so on directly from the PC, accept and reject calls on the PC without even having your phone in the room. I think if it's on the same Wi-Fi network, you can actually interact with the phone now on your desktop, which is kind of useful for a lot of people. There's much better gaming performance under DirectX. DirectX is kind of the part of Windows that handles game graphics rendering, and that will be much smoother now going forward. Here's something that's a small practical thing that matters to people. When you're using the Windows calculator, the calculator can now be pinned on top of what you're doing on your PC. Before, because it was a separate app, it would jump behind things. So you could never quite get the numbers. You could never quite get the numbers, on your calculator and on your document together at the same time. Now you can pin the calculator on top of the document you're working on, which is great. And here's something which kind of interests me, but I haven't used it, so I don't know how it works. You can do a cloud backup of your PC onto presumably Microsoft's OneDrive service. And that means you can restore your PC from OneDrive, which, I don't know how that's different to the kind of Windows accounts you've had before, but I'm interested in seeing how that works. Because for someone like myself, your PC ends up being so fine-tuned that when you move to a new PC, it can take you months to get it all tweaked to the way it was before. Now, with any luck, you can just download an image from your cloud storage to do that.
Yeah, especially if we cycle through a lot of machines, just setting up everything to your taste, like getting your correct browser, like all those settings is really important to have like a one-click solution where you can get all that in.
Yeah, because, all the apps are interoperating with each other. It takes forever to set that stuff up. Now you can have that as a sort of an image that comes down onto your PC, from the cloud storage. So these are just some of the highlights, but you can be assured there's going to be lots of little optimizations, many of which haven't even been mentioned here. There'll be lots of little optimizations. Not everyone will get the Windows update at the same time because there are, I don't know how many 100 million Windows users. They can't have them all downloaded at once, or else the entire internet will come to a standstill. So they phase them out. I don't know how they figure out who can get it when. I got mine last night, so I'm a happy camper. But, it will just in due course come to your PC. Look out for that. And when Windows wants to update,
Because in the note, you put up a little table here that just shows market share for the different operating systems. And it's interesting that from Jan to May this year, Windows 10 has actually walked back like 0.2%, whereas macOS has gone up almost a full percent in the first quarter.
Yeah, it's interesting, the minutiae of what's happened in the quarter. But at the end of all that, I kind of pulled back and then I took a look at the big picture. And the big picture is that Windows is still around the high 80s% of all PCs in the world, around 87% all PCs run Windows. Mac PCs are about 10% of all the desktop computers in the world. And the remaining 3% are Linux. You've probably heard of Linux.
Yeah.
Linux is kind of like a geeky, sophisticated server-level operating system. It's a great product to use, but it only accounts for 3% of the computers in the world. So that's Windows on 87%, Apple on 10%, and Linux on the remaining 3%. That's roughly how the world shakes out. And it's been that way for a while, actually.
Yeah. But the full percentage point jump for Apple is probably a lot of people jumping on the new MacBooks that came out in the world.
Yeah.
And then the other surprising thing was like almost 1.5% jump for Ubuntu up to May. So I think there's a lot of people working from home who are reviving old machines and turning them into Ubuntu machines.
That's a good theory. That's a good theory. Yeah. I've been a Linux fan. It's just, to convince people to move off things they know. And it really is a significant psychological mindset change to move to Linux.
I've tried it for like probably 2 hours on a Raspberry Pi, and I absolutely hated it and said I'll never, ever do that thing again in my life. So I am stuck between Mac and Windows. And I'm happy there, Gavin. I'm very happy to be a average consumer.
There's a famous anecdote that gets repeated when tech journalists get together and drink too much. And it goes like this. I attend an Apple media event at which they're rolling out PCs. It must be a very long time ago because they haven't done that for a very long time. They're rolling out PCs, and the Apple representative at the front of the room goes, who can honestly say that Windows is a superior experience to Mac? And I go, me. I raise my hand and I go, I can. And he goes, why do you say that? And I say, well, I'm a Windows power user. And he goes, oh, yeah, no, okay, that's fine. Anyone else? Anyone else? The point being that, if you use a tool for long enough, you become an expert at it, and then that's where you want to be. You want to be working with maximum efficiency. It doesn't matter if Apple or Microsoft is better. The fact is you develop like a skill set in that, operating system, and that's what makes it better for you, so.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Just to your point, I've been testing the LG G8X ThinQ and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus finally. Both of the devices I've been very excited for and finally have my hands on them. And I've realized that I've whittled down my use to like such a streamlined case where I can now evaluate the two products on the differences in like the company thinking behind it.
Interesting.
And like moving to, because I have like the Nokia 9 that I still owe you back. Also,
right.
And and then I have an iPhone as well. And then like moving between the things, like I can see exactly what I see as the dumb decisions that both of those companies made on both of those phones, because they are like dumb decisions. They are good steps forward, but there's a couple of like tiny steps backwards in each of them. And when you use something and you whittle it down, because there's two different approaches to like productivity, where LG wants you to do everything on the phone, whereas Samsung are like, hey, why didn't you plug this into something else and then like discover this whole new world of doing things?
Yeah, so it's like, I have noticed that. The one is inward looking and the other is, agreed.
So yeah, that's an interesting thing. But that will be coming up later. You had a little bit of a nugget here, the new Samsung Ethernet SSD EBOF.
Okay, did I actually put that in? Okay, that's kind of a bit technical, and maybe we're just going to skip over it. How it works is, if you don't know what a data center is, it's basically a large warehouse filled with rack-mounted computers, just endless and endless cupboards full of computers, and it does, heavyweight computing. So the problem is it also uses huge amounts of power, and because it works at such an incredible speed, there are bottlenecks all over the system. In other words, the processors are working at this speed, but the drives on which the storage is held are working at that speed, and the RAM is working at a different speed, so there are bottlenecks all over the system. But it makes a big difference because everything is done in such huge volumes. And Samsung, who is one of the biggest microchip makers in the world, have invented a storage system that also has processing power built into it. So it's almost like a mini computer, except that it's like a memory card. It's almost like RAM. It's like a huge block of RAM with processing power built into it. And this could actually revolutionize how server-level computing will happen in the future. It also has networking services built into what is essentially, a block of memory. It has networking built in and processing power. So instead of having separate computers, separate memory, and separate storage, you will have all three in one high-speed device. But that's it's kind of pie in the sky for the future. Interesting idea.
It is very interesting, especially with like 5 gig speed. So the data centers are what powers. That's where the cloud lives. I like to explain it to people like that. And all the computing that you then now handing off to the cloud. So that gets accelerated by, like, I know NVIDIA do some excellent work in terms of like the server GPUs that power a lot of the AI functionality that's happening. And the bottleneck has always been the read-write speeds on the actual storage.
Yes.
So if that can happen at full network speed, which is, you were saying here, up to 25 gigabits per second, that just is 25 times faster than anything we've been doing so far. And
any
with 5G
runs,
data speeds, like you computing in real time to a server, which is incredible.
Yeah, it's a small thing that's going to turn into a much bigger thing in several years' time. I'm just going to mute.
Cool. So then high refresh rate screens, talking about things that go really fast, Gavin. It's all the buzz now. everybody's talking about you must have, if you're spending $1,000 on a phone, you need to have, or at least in our case, 20,000 Rand on the phone, you need to have a high refresh screen. So like the screen just kind of refreshes itself at 60 hertz, so 60 times per second, which is the usual thing. Most things are kind of produced in that way, to run in that way. But now you're getting like I think the Google Pixel goes up to 90, but dynamically OnePlus also goes up to 90, and then Samsung goes up to 120 hertz on the S20 family. So I've been using for a week, I've been doing 1 day off, 1 day on, using the high refresh rate, because I had an idea that I wouldn't notice the difference between 60 hertz and 120, and I barely can. It's not as the big tech YouTubers are telling you. It's really not a deal breaker right now if like a flagship phone is coming out with a normal or a low refresh rate. And just the battery trade-off isn't worth it. I've been looking at, you save about 25%, or at least you offer up about 25% of your battery life when you are running at 120 hertz, which is not cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Samsung are not good at battery optimization to begin with. So, yeah.
Your calculation actually, just as a back of the napkin kind of calculation, makes sense, because what global averages show is that the screen actually uses up 60% of all your battery life.
Yeah.
So you're right. If your screen is going to double its refresh rate from a normal 60 hertz to 120 hertz, it makes sense that by turning that off, you will save 30% of your battery. So as a rough calculation. Yeah. So I agree with you. One of the first things I do is turn down the resolution on these phones. The kind of stuff I do on the phone, there's no big benefit from having this pristinely beautiful screen screaming along at a speed that my old eyes can barely tell the difference. I'm busy watching video from Netflix that's so heavily compressed coming down to me already. It's like listening to MP3s on a 10,000 Rand pair of headphones. MP3 already is a lossy format. Your sound is already terrible. Listening to them on great headphones not going to make a difference. Same effect here. If you're watching streaming video and you want to watch it on your 120 hertz screen, what's the point? So I think what would you use a higher screen refresh for? Maybe games? But
those sorts of games on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But why would you want 120 hertz refresh on your screen if it's going to impact the battery so heavily? It's not going to make anything look all that much prettier. The only difference it would make would be things that are moving on the screen.
It gets it moves smoother, Gavin. You get that battery smoothness because I don't know, man.
We have a mutual friend who, when evaluating phones, would always refer to the high-end phones and the operating system movement on the screen as buttery smooth, as you flick between the screens. That's Neil Gardner. Neil Gardner would say buttery smooth. And I suppose that's what you're getting with your 120 hertz. But really, who needs a buttery smooth experience when, a bacon grease effect might be just as good? So I'm good with bacon grease flipping between the screens at 60 hertz. My eyes cannot tell the difference, and I just don't need to lose that much battery over a screen refresh. Yeah. And of course, those screens also are pushing up the price of the damn phone. That's the thing, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Definitely. But I must say, one thing that has struck me, I am all for larger sensors, camera sensors on these phones. I think it's a 1/1.76 Sony sensor that is on the S20 Ultra, or S20 Plus. Sorry, S20 Ultra has that 108 megapixel job. So there's a 12 megapixel sensor on the S20 Plus. It performs every bit as good as I thought it would, compared to all the lessons that Samsung still needs to learn with that nano-binning thing on the Ultra. It's just like 20% better than the S10 in all of my comparative testing. Like, it just nails the pane of focus is now like really, really thin. It's razor thin. But when you nail it, I put an image up on my Twitter today of like a droplet coming off the succulent, and just the bokeh balls in the background. It just looks so delicious and creamy, and wow, I was quite excited.
Okay, well, this is quite a good segue. Let me just explain what I've been doing with my phone and how it relates to Lindsey's high art photography. Okay, I don't do high art photography with my phone. Okay, I just like snap things that I just need to keep track of or keep a memory of, or something that looks clever or some weirdness I see out there. I very seldom am making art with my camera phone. One of the things I am doing is capturing recipes because, we're all stuck at home. I'm doing a lot more cooking. So what I find is recipes, either in recipe books or my mother, ironically, saves me things from magazines. They still work in that print magazine world. Will give me paper recipes. And I've been snapping those with my phone. But of course, I'm doing that in the evenings with no natural light. So it's actually really pretty dark. And the app I'm using is Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 is the new name for what we used to call Office 365. I think they're dropping the Office. They're just calling it Microsoft 365, mainly because it's not just about Office applications anymore. It's become much broader than that. There's a lot more to it than Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. There's a lot more to it, including Skype, the thing that we're talking on right now. But the Microsoft 365 app, which is a free app, has been evolving over time. And here's one of the features that I'm using a lot. One of the features I'm using a lot is converting text or converting pictures into text. So I'm photographing these recipes that my mother sent me, which are magazine pages. Those are being converted into text, that I'm putting those into a sticky note, which I can save for future. But of course, with many of these recipes, what you really want is a picture of what the food looks like, so you know what you're aiming towards. So you know how many pumpkin seeds to sprinkle over the rice or whatever it is, So I'm using an older Samsung phone, but its low light performance is just so superb compared to the sort of budget phones I usually use. I'm using a high-end Samsung phone. It's about 2 years old. But photographing text and having that text converted 100% into text that I can paste into a sticky note with 100% recognition in low light conditions has been like a revelation for me. And then taking pictures of the picture of the food and having the rendering on that come out looking like daylight. It's absolutely brilliant. It's the first time I'm appreciating high-end phone sensors, the kind of thing that Lindsey probably does all the time. But to get back to my Microsoft 365 app, I recommend you download this app. And here's the one cool feature that I think you're going to try and really enjoy. When you're working in your Windows desktop PC, built into Windows, there's a sticky note app. We all know what sticky notes are, like Post-it notes. The little yellow, used to be yellow, now they come in luminous colors. You can make sticky notes on your PC screen where you just need to jot down something, make a note about something, just a rough note. It's like a Post-it note. You stick it on your desktop on your PC. Those now synchronize automatically onto your phone if you're using the Microsoft 365 app, which is great because it means that notes you're making on your phone also then sync back to your PC. So your notes are all together in one place, which I'm finding fantastic. We've already done this several times with Google Keep in the past, but I'm finding the Microsoft Notes app is even better because it kind of integrates better with the Windows experience. So do try the Microsoft 365 app on your phone and try converting pictures of text into actual text, which you can edit. I've been doing it with recipes. You can make a sticky note out of that text, and then you can add a picture to that sticky note as well. So you end up with the picture of the food plus the recipe all captured from what was a magazine page, all using the Microsoft 365 app. That's what I've been doing. It's been hugely effective for me, and I've been taking advantage of better camera tech in the process, doing this stuff in the evenings and having it come out great. All right.
It's called the Office app. It's the Microsoft Office app. It's the unified Office app, which has.
They're not calling it Microsoft 365 as the app. No,
it's the Office app. So it's got that little orange Office logo.
Box.
Yeah, that's the logo that you should be looking out for. It combines the powers of PowerPoint, Word, everything goes into one thing. Notes is there. I'm not a fan of Microsoft Sticky Notes, just by the way. Like just as a point of order, you keep putting it on our list of things to talk about.
Okay.
I'm not there. I don't like those ugly squares of little things that people paste on their desktops. I'm not a fan. I'm not there with you, Gavin.
But it's my ADD, like information is passing through the old cranium all the time, and you're afraid you're going to lose something. So you're constantly making notes about your notes. And I don't know, it works for me. Google Keep we have used as our sticky note application in the past, but that can't just be pulled up randomly anywhere, on your PC at any time. That's the thing. It only runs inside my browser. Yeah. So that's why I've ended up on the Microsoft experience.
Google Keep is Google Assistant still, like if you make a shopping list, it still doesn't route directly to Google Keep. It goes to like this weird shopping list app cloud thing that Google has. If you Assistant make a shopping list, it won't make it on Google Keep, which is the most irritating thing in the world.
Yeah, that would irritate the hell out of me. I mean, I use Google Keep a lot for shopping lists, actually. I've got one global shopping list because it makes checkboxes. I mean, for the listeners, Lindsey already knows this, but for the listeners, it actually makes a list with checkboxes. And you uncheck all the things you want on your shopping list. You go through the store, tick them all off, and it keeps a record of all of them. So when you need to go shopping next week, you just untick all the new things that you need this week, and it makes a new list for you. So you've got one global shopping list which you reuse. I found that to be fantastically useful.
No, especially for lockdown. Like my wife will make one, and then wherever I am, if I'm just in the queue at the Pick and Pay, I open it up, refresh, and then everything's there, and then I just tick it off so she can kind of monitor in real time how I'm doing.
Right, what you're doing. Oh, cool. I never thought about that, actually. I never thought about that. Wow, that's a good idea. So you actually have the shared thing and the real-time sharing, so you can even add things onto the list while you're in the store. Yeah. Damn, I never thought about that, because that's what always happens to us. You're in the store, now you don't know if you need tomato sauce or not. Okay.
We always do that one phone call. It's always like that one phone call. I'm forgetting something. What is it?
I know it well. Okay.
Talking about things that we have been buying and shopping and all that stuff, I just placed an order for some refill ink on my sorry about that. Just placed an order for some refill ink on my Brother printer, and I'm using a third-party brand now. I'm not using, because I'm not about that $300 per little color, and then $400 for the black. That because it's got the individual color cartridges, CMYK. Gavin, buying printers. A lot of people are homeschooling, doing a lot of things from home, so printers are becoming quite a thing. I had 2 calls on the weekend from friends who were like, I'm in macro, which printer should I get? And it's like, damn, bro, why?
Okay.
The grudge purchase is now an essential purchase, Gavin.
A printer is a grudge purchase. It stands around the house. You only ever print out a couple of pages a week, if that. That whole time, it's taking up space somewhere. It's gathering dust. And then when you print it, invariably it doesn't print properly the first time because you haven't printed anything for 2 weeks and the print heads are clogged. And, that's been most people's printer experience. I've decided to move past that and aim a little higher, and it has totally worked out for me. I'm having a much better printer experience because I've moved away from laser printers, which are very big and only monochrome. They're cheaper to run, but they're very big and take up a lot of space, and they only print black and white, and they really only print documents. I've moved to color inkjet printer, and I decided to bite the bullet and buy a printer that will print very good photos, or at least decent photos, because I'm finding that we have all these fabulous family pictures and no one ever sees them. They just disappear. So I got a little bit of photo paper, but even when I print on regular paper, I can just stick these up kind of anywhere in the house, just as a ha-ha, pictures of the pets, pictures of the kids as younger people, whatever. So quick and dirty A4 color prints, I've been doing that as well. And then the occasional high definition photo. But for that, you kind of do have to spend probably well over 2,000 Rand on your printer.
Yeah.
The difference is that you now want to get a printer that has refillable ink tanks, and they're actually much cheaper to run. They seem a little expensive at the outset, but actually I've been running this printer probably for 6 months and haven't refilled the ink tanks yet. In fact, they're barely half empty. And I've been printing photos like crazy. So it's proving to be very cost effective for me. Pretty much all printers these days come with Wi-Fi. I mean, if your printer doesn't have Wi-Fi, you're doing something wrong. You're probably buying a little bit too cheaply, or you're buying end of the line, or you're buying old stock. Even entry-level printers now have Wi-Fi. The advantage of this is that you can print to it from anywhere, even from your phone. So I'm recommending refillable ink tank printers as by far the cheapest way to go. It sets you free to print all those photos that you know you should be printing that you're not printing. And Wi-Fi will almost certainly be baked in so that everybody can print to it from their phones or from their PCs, wherever they are all over the house. These are the three characteristics. So I don't know what your feeling is on printers, Lindsey. I mean, it sounds like using the cartridge thing, so you're having to replace that print head every time, yeah?
Yeah. So I have a brother, the multifunction the MFC. It's a J2720. So there's the individuals. There's like a cyan, yellow, and magenta ink, and then the black ink as well, which is like double the size. And those things will drive you bankrupt. They're about 275 rand per color, and then like 400 bucks for the black. But I found a full set of third-party brand, like a Cape Town, like an ink specialist thing, and they are selling for like $389 for the full set. So I don't know what quality it's going to be. I'm just rolling the dice on that. I do the full wireless thing, but I will argue with you on one little thing. If you don't have Wi-Fi, at least if like you're really price conscious, get one with USB connection and plug it into your router. If you have a decent router, it will probably have a USB port that you're not using right now. And just,
very good point. Yeah.
You can turn any USB connected printer into a cloud printer by plugging it into your network. I know Google wireless printing and Apple's cloud print do support those sorts of configurations as well. So then you can also print from anywhere in the world. I'd also go with the ink tank because you can then refill the ink with like the little ink bottles, and those are a lot cheaper to buy as well. And there are manufacturers in this world, HP, I'm calling you out on this one, who use proprietary circuitry on the print heads, on the cartridges, and then you can't use third-party printers for that. That's like a license thing, and they very cagey about those licenses to sell off those designs. So then they can charge you whatever the hell they want. So their printers might be very, very cheap. Like I've seen HP printers at like $700 for a multifunction printer.
Don't buy them. Don't buy them, guys. Don't buy them. Yeah.
The other thing when you're doing multifunction printers, why my recommendation when we do that later isn't a multifunction is you have a scanner in your pocket, man. If you have a decent smartphone, you use the Microsoft Office app. It has a scanner, text scanner, document scanner built in. You can pick up document scanners pretty much anywhere on the web. I think it's built into. Built into. This document scanner is built into certain phones' camera apps as well. So yeah, you don't really need it. But if you are getting a multifunction and you want to use the scanning, you need to look for a minimum of 1200 as the smallest number DPI for your scan resolution. I know HP are also really, really bad at selling things that scan at like 600 DPI, like 1200 by 600, which is, it just gets my goat, man.
Okay, well, very little scanning is happening these days because there's very little hard copy documents.
Yeah.
And I do strongly recommend what Lindsey was saying. I fully endorse. Well, the quick and dirty scan of a document, try taking a photo with your phone. And either the camera itself will have a function for taking pictures of documents, or if you use the Microsoft app that we discussed earlier, it does an excellent job of turning your photo of a document into a scanned kind of document. It flattens it out, it converts it to black and white, it does everything you need, does that really well. So don't start imagining you need high-end scanning, because scanning is like something that happens very, very seldom these days.
Yeah. And a lot of the file systems, like in the phones, I know Apple's even on it now in their Files app, you can choose to save things or export as a PDF. So like you really do not need the scanner to enter into that whole piece, because I know PDFs used to be like another predatory practice back in the day where you had to spend $200 on software to turn things into PDF. Not anymore. True. Everything's been democratized now, and like these companies are making it very easy. And that gets us to our Take a Lot Tech treasure for the week. I'm gonna go first, Gavin. It is now 15% off the Canon PIXMA G1411 A4 ink tank printer. It is now selling for 1,699 rand, so 1,700 rand. It's the cheapest ink tank printer that I could find. It only does printing. You get it has a 5 high yield ink bottles. I don't understand what that means in the box. But yes. Oh, it's got double for the black. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So yes, the Canon Pixma G1411 ink tank printer, that is 1,700 Rand a take a lot right now.
Is it an all-in-one, or is that a printer only?
It's just a printer. It is just a printer.
Yeah, well, actually, sometimes that's what you want. It's less stuff to go wrong. It's less stuff to break. You know, like I say, if you're going to do the scanning by taking a snap with the phone, maybe a good printer is really all you need. I have honed in on 2 all-in-ones here. I can't choose between these 2 brands. I love both these brands for printing. I've had superb photos from both of them in recent days. So the Canon Pixma G2411, that's the bigger brother of Lindsey's printer. This is now the all-in-one. So it's the Canon Pixma G2411 A4 all-in-one multifunction ink tank printer for 2,299, 2,300 Rand. That's an ink tank system like we've been discussing, but that now has the scanning and the photocopying in there as well, if you need that sort of thing for your small office. My second most favorite brand is Epson. Epson, we're looking here at the L3110, and that's 2,800 Rand, also with an ink tank system, and it comes with full set of inks in the box and a spare set of inks in the box. So for slightly more, you're getting quite a lot more ink. So that's the Canon Pixma G2411 for 2,300 and the Epson L3110 for 2,800. Both excellent, excellent printers. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that, guys. I'm a big Brother fan, but the cheapest Brother multifunction printers I found on Takealot are like 4,000 Rand. I'm very happy with mine.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad that you found generics for the Brother. It means they must have sold quite a lot of them for for no name brand people to be producing stuff for it. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
I'm happy. I'm interested to see what the quality is like and how long it lasts. But yeah, my printer's been doing the hard yards now, especially with my 4-year-old getting his like grade pre-R work stuff through, just printing that out. And sometimes you forget to just click the black and white, and then you're just printing because you're in a hurry, and then everything comes with color, and then you're like,
But with an at least with an ink tank printer, you're not as sensitive. Before with the cartridge thing, it would like kill you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I'm still on cartridges, so yeah.
That's right. Just on cartridge. Yeah. So anyway, then that does hurt. Yeah. Okay.
We're done. I am Lindsey Schutters, Sharpshooters on social media, SHARPSCHUTTERS. Please come fight with me. I like fighting with people. The website is thatopinionguy.co.za. On there right now, there's a lot of talk about COVID-19 regulations. There was a big court case this week where the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, they said that all the lockdown 4 and 3 regulations, or at least most of it, from what I've been reading, been chewing through that document, is unlawful and unconstitutional, but suspended judgment for 14 days. So we still in lockdown level 3 for the next 2 weeks, unless something else happens. So I'm reckoning by June 16, all of this will end. We'll probably go back to what we were just before lockdown. So like the social distancing, wear your masks out in public, don't assemble in groups bigger than 50, like keeping 1.5 to 2 meters space between people. Yeah, I think that will probably go back there. There's very little tech reviews coming out now, at least on the YouTube channel, That Opinion Guy. You're getting the S20 versus G8X comparison. And then whenever the V60 drops, that's coming too. And I'm getting another Lenovo, I think it's a tablet in this as well. Just to see what's up with you?
Okay, well, I do want everyone to go and visit Tech Radar. Just go to Tech Radar, spelled just like it sounds, techradar.com. You'll end up in the South African version of the site. What I've been working on are the best of lists, and specifically best of headphones and best of phones. Do check those out. You know, whether you want wireless headphones, noise-canceling headphones, we've got a list of the best products available in South Africa. Do have a look at all those. I'm busy working on the best laptops, so by next week, there'll be best laptops for you to look at too. And we'll be launching later in the month, and there'll be free stuff going. I'll let you know about it. Stay safe, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.